So in the near future, we're going to talk about these scud clouds. What they call them, that move lower and faster and often in a different direction than the other clouds. But right now, if I could find my phone prop thingy, we're going to make a video about some serious stuff. I'm sure it doesn't really catch it and do it justice by showing you in the rear view cam here, but I don't know how to flip the camera around from the front camera to the back camera. So maybe I'll show you some of these here in a minute that are all around me. But you're not going to need me to record it and show it to you on video. You're going to see them all around you as well. It just went out. I was trying to get that thin one back there. That one over my shoulder. Anyway, so one day, tickle his chin. Gucci, Gucci, goo. One day I watched the newscaster lady on the local Fox 13 come into the studio all tripped out about the clouds. She thought she's like weirded out about them. And she has the authoritative weatherman tell, oh yeah, those are called scud clouds. They move lower and faster and often in a different direction than the other clouds. Oh, okay, well they've called them scud clouds then. That's for the normies, which is what we're going to talk about now. So, I filmed 2 plasma fire videos today. They're very short. I'll probably upload them after this. One of them I'm filming in a lady's front yard, and she comes out and asks what's up, and she's like 90 years old. And I kind of tell her, and she's like, oh yeah, that burn on that's probably from the ditch guys who burn the weeds in the ditches so that when irrigation flows, it doesn't get blocked. I said, oh yeah, it's the ditch guys, huh? I didn't want to sound smug or condescending. I explained to her it's electricity coming up from the ground and that your neighbor over there has a very similar burn on their post and that I've been documenting this around the country and that this is one of the signs of the times. She's like, oh, okay, so you're just checking it out, huh? Yeah, okay. And as I drive around the corner and down the road, I see the same trees that I had filmed in Nampa, Idaho, in a previous video. I'll include that link in the description. And all around Nampa, I could spend a week here, a month here, and not film all the plasma fire burns everywhere. Then, once I got to my location where I'm picking up, I filmed the plasma pole graveyard right next to me. Again, it's something else I've filmed before. But then I came to this understanding regarding Old Man Thayne did it. A video, I'll include the link in the description, where I was going to pick up a load and I spotted a plasma fired tree, giant tree stump. And in fact, I even took the bottle home, a beer bottle that split in the middle. And it was hot enough, it melted the glass of the beer bottle. Fire don't do that. You've seen plenty of beer bottles thrown in campfires. They don't melt. Anyway, as I'm filming this in the video titled Old Man Thayne Did It, a truck starts coming down the road, and I'm in the area to pick up hay, and this is the Thayne farm. And as I'm filming, I see the truck coming down the road, and I turn it, and I show, and I push pause, and a second later, you see me going, that old man told me he did that shit! Without getting that excited, I'm going to explain what this is all about. That old man told me, oh, when he walked up, I was filming and he drives up and he didn't walk up. When I walked up to the truck as he rolled up and stopped, I said, what do you think of this? He says, oh, I did it. I'm the one that did it. He said, yeah, I'm bringing old logs and brush, and whenever I got something to burn, I just bring it on down here to the old stump, try and get rid of it, burn a little mild wood on it or whatever. That's when I was just like, oh, okay. And he was the guy that was telling me right down there's where we're going to load. He was the old farmer on the Thayne farm. And I get back in the truck, and I'm trying to wrap my mind around why the hell did he tell me he did that when I know for fact, not only did he not do that, he has not brought a single piece of wood and burnt it on that stump. Or the burn signatures left behind would be different, and I explained so in the video. A couple other examples of a similar pattern of behavior that goes beyond denial. It's active suppression of the truth to keep your worldview intact. And I'm hoping by the end of this video, we'll be able to... It's very easy for me to get furious at someone doing that, suppressing the truth in order to keep their own comfort zone intact. I've got a few other examples of it, and then we're going to talk about how this works and why the Mandela affected, or just Vanessa individually, already had her paradigm shattered. So she was willing to look at, acknowledge, and accept this truth. Another couple examples. When we talk about the Svengali card trick, it has to do with those single frames that I was talking about the other day. $15 years ago, 20 years ago, however long it's been, it was after I had already started spotting these single frames and gone through that phase of my life, where I see a David Blaine card trick on TV, and I was blown away. He says, I'm going to read your mind. And he takes a deck of cards. He goes, all right, here, pick a card. I'm going to flip the deck in front of the camera here, and you just watch and you pick a card. As you're watching the deck, pick one out that you see, and I'll read your mind. Oh, here, I did it too quick. Do it again. Watch the deck. And he flips the whole card deck in front of you. After I figured out how it was done, I took it up. And what he does, you pick a card. You're like, 8 of spades. And he pulls up the 8 of spades. And it's like, how the hell did he do that? He read my mind through the TV. He didn't read your mind. He inserted that into your mind without you noticing, then pulled it back out and showed you, and you were amazed. And I took a VHS up to my parents. There were 3 people in the room, my stepdad, my mom, and my aunt. And I put this on play and let them watch. And when he gets to the part where he pulls up the card and shows them, all 3 of their jaws dropped. But then my mom comes in, and I'll tell you how the card trick's done here in just a second. Then my mom chimes in and goes, oh, well, yeah, I saw the 8 of... You could tell all 3 of their jaws dropped equally. My mom didn't look at the other 2 and go, what, did it work on you? I picked the Queen of Hearts. All 3 of their jaws drop equally, and then my mom, like old man Thayne, there's a pattern here I'm building. My mom says, oh, well, yeah, I picked the 8 of spades, but I also picked the Queen of Hearts. That's my favorite card. It's always been my favorite card. That's why I picked the Queen of Hearts. When I brought to their attention the fact that even people that don't read the Bible know the Lord's Prayer ends with the verse, forgive us our trespasses as we would forgive those who have trespassed against us. And I was explaining this to them too, my mom and stepdad, and said, finish the line. Forgive us our... My stepdad chimes in and says, trespasses. I said, as we would forgive, finish. He finishes it up, those who trespassed against us. Yep. When I said it now says, forgive us our debts as we would forgive our debtors. Right at the end, as I'm saying, forgive our debtors, my mom's like, oh, yeah, debtors. That's the one I remember. Yeah, I remember them both. I've heard both. When my stepdad, they gave him a fire hat at work. The guys at work went and bought him a little plastic fire hat and were making fun of him. Oh, Fire Chief Doug, Firefighter Doug. Because one day he's driving along and watches a fire spring up out of the ground. This is at a time when they were happening all around Utah. I was already hip to what was going on. And he told me the story. He drove, he watched a fire pop out of the ground right in front of him, where there was no fire previously. A year later or 2 years later, however long it was, he adds a lightning bolt to the story. So, oh, no, yeah, I saw a lightning bolt strike, and then I drove around the corner and saw that there was a little spot fire, and I jumped out and put it out. So that's why the guys at work gave him the plastic fireman hat, called him Fireman Doug, because he jumped out of his truck and put out a fire with a shovel. At the time, he told me it popped up right in front of him. Had he said anything about a lightning bolt, I would have remembered that. He didn't. He added that later. And I'm going to talk about whether or not these people really believe it. Did old man Thayne really believe he did that? Because I can tell you right now, he did not. Not only did he not do that, he never even came along and burned a second piece of wood on there. So what people are doing, and I'll tell you how the card trick works in just a minute. What people are doing is trying to keep their world intact. And they're willing to go to great lengths in order to do it. And I'm hoping we can have some compassion for these people. Because like I said on my way out to Missouri, it's real easy to love them when you know what's in store for them. So just love them a little bit more on the way out. Side note before I get... No, we're going to stay on this. So, what people are doing is trying to keep their worldview intact, and they will go to the extent where they fabricate out of whole cloth pure bullshit. Like, I did that. I burnt that tree. And when I get back in the truck after I'm filming the tree, push pause, talk to the old, and I showed you here, oh, here comes the truck. Push pause. As I start recording again, I'm fired up and pissed off that that old bastard would tell me he did it. And you can start to guess at why they would make shit up. And it's to keep their worldview intact. Because in order for me to go on just living life as normal, as if everything's as it always has been, I need you to do the same. My self-image and worldview requires you to keep your self-image and worldview, or paradigm, collectively, our self-images and worldviews. In order for me to just carry on like I always have been, I need everyone around me to carry on as they always have been. Because if they start paying attention to, noticing, and acknowledging the changes that are happening around us, I'm not going to be able to just go through my emotions of my daily life and act like nothing's happening. So I need everyone else to keep acting like nothing's happening too. So I'm going to tell them, I did that. Yeah. There's different reasons why people might do that. But I'm actually seriously asking the question, did the old man really believe he did that? Did he convince himself he did that? And at first I'm talking, is he like part of the Illuminati, like the stone cutters in Homer Simpson's? Who keeps the Martians under wraps? We do. Who keeps the plasma fires under wraps? We do. Or does he feel like he's just being a patriarch and a good guy by... He got together with guys around town and said, listen, guys, I'm going to just say I did it. Because we're not going to let the women and children know about this. And he thought he was doing a good deed by suppressing the truth in order to preserve his own personal comfort zone. And you can put yourself on a moral platform and think that that's all you're doing is helping them because they can't handle the truth, and you're softening the blow by inserting the lightning bolt. No, that excuse doesn't fly. You're not softening the blow for anyone besides yourself. By saying, oh no, I saw the Eight of Spades, but I also saw the Queen of Hearts. They're trying to keep their worldview intact, and they're willing to do anything in order to make that happen. And so we'll talk more about this when I talk about Paul Romano, Quantum and of Pockets of the Truth, Matt, Quantum of Conscience, Logic Before Authority, Daniel Alexander Cannon. So the people from the Mandela Effect community have already had their paradigm shattered, their self-image and worldview shattered. And the people around them, that they bring this to your attention and show you it used to be wineskins and now they've turned it to water bottle, and you put a water bottle on someone's shoulder? It used to be even non-Bible reading people like myself know that it was forgive us our trespasses as we would forgive those who have trespassed against us. And they've now changed it to forgive us our debts as we would forgive our debtors. And when you bring this to their attention, in order to not allow it to affect them, they leave it on you. Even if they remember it as the trespassers too, they'll say, oh no, I remember, forgive us our debts as our debtors. Even if they picked the 8 of spades too. Oh, so I picked the Queen of Hearts. Yeah. So that you can't show them anything about their world that they don't already know. And the muse message for today's video is Metallica, nothing else matters. Every day for us something new. Open mind for a different view. And nothing else matters. Forever trust in who we are. Life is ours, we do it our way. And that is the difference between the hot and the cold. It occurred to me, why does that say in the Bible, hot or cold and the lukewarm get spit out? Considering hot means like people that are on fire with the Spirit of the Lord, and cold are people that are totally against it, why would the lukewarm get spit out and only the hot or cold are good to go with God? Because the lukewarm are the ones that just bought in and, okay, I'll pay my $30, and they gave up their own way and their identity and their individuality to think for themselves. The guy who's cold and says, nah, keep yourself righteous, hypocrisy to yourself. That's not for me. I'm going to do this my way. The Lord likes those people a lot better than the people who said, okay, sure, I'll buy into whatever paradigm worldview you give me. The warm are the one that pay their $30 of tithing, go to church once a week and call it good. The hot are the ones that are on fire. The cold are the ones that still have their individuality and haven't bought into a hive mind and thrown in the towel and said, I give up, I'll just do it your way, I'll join your hive. Today, Enter the Stars is doing a video on the blue bloods. Those with the beam in their eye that are among us. And a couple things he said stood out to me when he said, about the tree of good and evil, why would God plant the tree of good and evil? I think maybe he didn't. Maybe it wasn't. He says, unless the Bible says so. I'll have to check up on that. So if the Bible says so, I'm not going to continue thinking for myself and putting dots together. If the Bible says so, that's true. At another point in that video, he's talking about these blue bloods, and then he says, and they talk a little bit about Christ in there, but I think they're just trying to mix the good with the evil. He's trying to keep his worldview intact. And people that rely on dogma and doctrine in order to do that, trying to filter the experiences we're going through now and will continue to go through, through trying to filter them all through your preconceived ideas, whether or not you're a Bible person, is not going to work. You have to be willing to let go of your preconceived ideas, acknowledge you know nothing in order to go through this. And I've said that Christianity works great because it gives people the basic idea that there's a God and here's the ways you should live your life. The Santa Claus version is all you need. Knows when you're sleeping, knows when you're awake, and wants you to do good for goodness sake. Everything above and beyond that is all doctrine and detail that's going to trap you. And that's what Enter the Stars is doing. He's trying to filter everything through the book. Right now, we're watching a bunch of people deny what their eyes can see and go with the groupthink as illustrated in the experiments that I put in my previous video, the SAC experiments, I forget the name. And someone goes like that, you're a piece of shit. Okay. Soft-minded people want to take a hardline stance on things they don't understand and taking a cheap, easy way to declare themselves a good person by pointing at the bad guy. But someone in one of my videos commented, you're imagining things. And I assumed it was, somehow I got it mixed up. And I responded, assuming that they were commenting on my video where I tell these tall tales that one could easily say, I think you're imagining things. That comment was in the sun tunnel video. They're denying what they see with their eyes because it is more comfortable and convenient for them to imagine that I'm imagining things rather than looking at what I am showing them. In order to keep their worldview intact, they have to deny what their eyes are seeing right in front of them and say, you're imagining things. On that sun tunnel video, it got my channel wiped. They removed every video and every subscriber the day after I uploaded that. On that day, I tried to upload another one once I realized they wiped my channel, and they took it down. The next day, I get an email saying, oh, we've discovered you're not in violation of any of our terms of service or community guidelines. We apologize for any inconvenience, and you can reach us at this number or whatever. They don't wipe out YouTube channels for lens flares or for people with a vivid imagination. That was on the level of national security and international security. I received a type of censorship that is very different protocol than what other people experience. And I've talked about this before. But that is how you know I'm not imagining things. They don't wipe out channels for lens flares or imagination. And that person, I'm not mad at them. They provide a good example of what the alternative is to being a truther. In AA, they say this is available to everyone except for those who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. And that's what we're looking at all around us, is people who are demonstrating that ability, that inability to be honest with themselves and accept what they see. And instead, they'll go about making shit up in order to keep their preconceived ideas and their worldview intact. They'll say, I burned that fire. Oh yeah, I saw the Queen of Hearts. I remember it as debtors. Oh, there was a lightning bolt. Yeah, lightning bolt. And that's why this is a filtration mechanism to see who's more in alignment with truth and who's not. And that's why they say, James True says, the truth movement is a comfort movement. And I agree. Because all these people would rather keep looking for the truth. When you show them, here it is, plasma fire. Oh no, I'm going to keep looking. Here it is, biggest truth you've ever found. Oh no, I'm going to keep looking. That's your bag. And so, I can see both sides of that argument, that everyone has their own angle at which they come at this. Everyone has their topics that they prefer to discuss and that they specialize in. And someone said that in my rant video, that, everyone's got their own bag. I understand that, and I will argue that side of the argument here in a moment. The same side of the argument when I said, just because they can't see it doesn't mean they're not in the spirit. I will argue that in a moment. But the other side of the argument is that this is everyone's bag, and 2 years ago, I would have assumed that when people see this, they'll stop what they're doing out of a self-preservation instinct. Natural self-preservation. Hold the phone, stop what you're doing. We have something here that we need to address. Throughout the last 2 years, I've been given more and more to show them and show them and show them. Fired everything I got. And what it did was showed me that I'm very different than them. And there are others like us coming to the acceptance of the role that I play in this saga that we're watching happen before our eyes is something I'm just kind of settling into now. Because phase 2 is coming on, so I'm going to just enjoy the rest of phase 1 of this ambassadorship that I've spoken of. And with the Mandela effect, you would have people, imagine waking up one day and hearing everyone say, multiplication, multiply. Can you multiply 3 times 5? Did you say multiply? Yeah. Multiplication, simplification, amplification. It's all the same suffix. Don't you mean multiply and multiplication? Huh? No, dude, it's multiplication and multiply. Everyone knows that. You should have known that in 3rd grade. What's wrong with you? And they look at you like you're the crazy person. And you know it was multiply, not multify. And multiplication, not multification. And from that point, your self-image and your psyche begins to crack, and you see other examples of this Mandela effect in your world. And there are people who, even though they can see it too, they'll tell you, oh, I can't see it. I remember it's always been multiply. It's always been multiplication, of course. Even though they too can see and remember multiplication, multiply. In order to keep that comfort zone, the hassle-free zone, in order to keep their worldview intact so they can continue going through the motions of life and living the last half of their life like they lived the first half. But this applies to young people as well. And there's been enough people in this Mandela effect community that have developed and shared their testimonies with each other that the group of Mandela affected people are a lot like the plasma fire people, which apparently I'm about the last one. While the rest of society goes on saying, well, as long as it only affects you and not me, I'm willing to sacrifice the truth, even actively suppress the truth, and tell lies like I did that fire. In order to not let it affect me, I need it to not affect you. So I need all of you to continue believing nothing's happening. It was always multiply. I did that fire over there. See what I'm saying? They will insert lies. In order to continue living in the lie, they support the lie, they love the lie, they will contribute to the lie. You see that going on with the mask and the vax and all of that. Facts don't matter, truth doesn't matter. Keeping their worldview intact is what matters most, and they're willing to go to great lengths to do it. At the sacrifice of anyone and everyone else. I don't care if you're Mandela affected or if there's plasma fires or the sun tunnel or the microchip, long as I can just not let that affect me. The only relative who replied about my microchip said, I'm just all about peace, love, and harmony, and I hope you find what you're looking for. Huh? Looking for? I just told you something I found. One on me and my sister. Since then I found it on 2 other people. That's 4 of us total. But so long as they can wall themselves off from you and pretend that's not going to affect me. In their world, they live in a world where governments don't microchip people from birth. That's just conspiracy theory shit from David Icke. And when you show them that it's a reality, that's when they will shut down, block it out. It's beyond denial and just putting the blinders on so they can't see it. They will make shit up. They'll even make sure, he inserted that in his own ear. Yeah, he told me that a year or 2 ago. Do they really believe? Does that old man really believe he produced that plasma fire? How far are they willing to go? How constitutionally incapable are they of being honest with themselves? To the point where they can make stuff up and believe it. That's how far. And that's why the spiritual firewall of the plasma fires, the moon on its back. There's enough things going on around us that they are all consciousness filtration devices. And when I left today, when I was picking up that load, where I filmed the plasma pole graveyard right here out my driver window that I'll upload later, they had overloaded me about 3,500 pounds. So they had to take 2 off because they're about 2,500 a piece. And I said, yeah, it sucks trying to figure out which ones to leave behind, huh? She's like, yeah, because after they realize that, they're like, well, shit. And they're looking at the list. They're like, she's talking to the forklift operator. And I said, yeah, it sucks having to decide which ones to leave behind, huh? Yeah. So they say, okay, we'll just pull these 2 off. And then come back in for your paperwork. Once I got out to the truck, I'd realized what I just said. The Muse message. I was the one who said it. And then a minute later, I was the one who heard it. Sucks having to decide which ones to leave behind. That's why it is a process of self-selection, and they will do the choosing themselves. And so ultimately, the filtration is whether or not you are more in alignment with truth or not. said a million times, we live in a day where truther is a pejorative, a derogatory name that you call someone. What is the opposite of a truther? A liar. And that's the difference. So I'll come back to this subject a little bit and carry on with others. There is a correlation between the plan of Satan and Jesus. Satan said, I'll save them all, but I'll take their freedom. Jesus said, only some will make it, but they'll still have their freedom. And you can see the parallels between these two plans in the Democrat and the Republican ideology. Not that they actually live up to the rhetoric that they espouse. But in capitalism, not everyone's going to make it. Some people are going to starve. But they're all left their free will. In communism, no one starves, but no one gets their free will. In capitalism, they can shoot to the moon. They can excel and succeed to the highest amount of success and wealth and affluence imaginable. That's not the case in communism. So there is a parallel between those two plans. One saves them all. No one's going to starve, but everyone only makes $5 an hour, and we're going to tell you what you're going to do for that $5 an hour. In the other one, free will is left up to you. Hard work is required, and some people ain't going to make it. But in the plan of happiness, the greatest amount of happiness for the most amount of people, one produces far more happiness. And it's not about quantity, it's about quality. Because a few individuals who are in alignment with truth can reach far greater levels of happiness than millions and millions who are in love with the lie and are willing to sacrifice anything in order to stay in its good graces. And because misery loves company, in order to keep everyone else locked into the lie, they'll say anything they've got to. They'll make up shit a year later. So, oh no, I saw a lightning bolt. Yeah, there's a lightning bolt. This is lightning. I remember it as debtors. Yeah, nothing's changed. It's always been that way. I always remembered it as multiply. Multiplication, everyone knows that. And that's the filtration going on here. It's the difference between a truther or a liar. And if you've been in the spirit of truth, then you don't need to worry about the details of the doctrine and which God's the good God and the bad God. If you can rely on your own personally relevant, personally meaningful set of morals and ethics that you've conducted your own life by, none of that shit matters. When you've got locked onto the Spirit, everyone around me can see I've been